What's going on, and welcome to episode 4 of Cover 2 Cash. We are in week 3 of the NFL. We are getting everything kicked off. A special Thursday edition this week. Due to some scheduling conflicts, we had moved the show up a week or a day this week, and then next week we've got a very special guest that's going to be joining us, but we're not ready to tell you who that is yet. But it's going to be next Thursday at the same time, so that's 9 o'clock Eastern. I know that the Dolphins and the Bills are on right now, so it's going to be a tough get for the audience, but what we're going to do is still continue to do the show. We're going to go over our college football picks, as we always do, and tell you who to start and sit for our NFL fantasy players out there. And we're going to preview all the games. And with that being said, let me bring on my co-host with the most from the great state of Mississippi. It is Bobby from Bobby's Big Board. What's going on, Bobby?
What's going on, guys? What is going on? I am excited to go over week 3. Week 3 of college football really hurt us on the spread, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Yeah, it definitely happens. Watching a little bit of Thursday night football, kicking back, talking week 3 NFL. So currently the Bills are up 14-7. They just got another stop, so this game might be getting ugly real quick. We'll see. But without further ado, I think we can go ahead and get right into it, man. I think there's a lot of exciting matchups. If you guys saw the thumbnail, we have the Lions, who just put a beating on the Bears this past weekend, and then the Ravens, who have been amazing. They clobbered the Browns as well. But the first game I do want to mention was the Indianapolis Colts. They're going on the road versus the Tennessee Titans. So a team in the Colts that has been on a heater, and the Titans, a team that can't figure it out on offense right now, and the defense has been mid at best. Indianapolis going on the road, they're minus 4-point favorites. How do you feel about that line? I kind of feel like that's a little generous to the Titans, considering how well this Colts team has been playing over the first couple weeks.
I think this is kind of like a perfect Vegas line. You got a Colts team that has 2-0, and they should be 1-1. I mean, they should have lost that game to Denver, but a penalty offset that kick, and then moves him back and misses a kick.
But I didn't like that penalty call, man. I really didn't like that. But
it's the rule, though. You got to protect the center. So learn the rules of the game and abide by them. But I think that the line's pretty fair. I think that they're still kind of waiting on Daniel Jones to prove it a little more. But he's got some pass pro back there now, and he's actually able to open up the game a little bit. He's got great running backs, and I mean, they're pretty solid wide receiver. And the Titans do look like a mess. So 4-point dog at home feels about right. This is a good line. Should be an interesting game. I mean, when you're 0-2 and you're starting to look down the barrel, we got to see what you're made of. So we'll see how Cam Ward goes.
Yeah,
should be a good matchup.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and look at the start sets. I'm Indianapolis minus 4 all day, and we're going to go ahead and look at the starts. Look, Daniel Jones, he was on the red side of the screen for the past 2 weeks. First week, he lit it up. I said, you got to show me one more week. He goes out there again, shows me again in week 2. I'm a man of my word. I will start you now, Daniel Jones. The Titans defense, they're not horrible. They're okay. So we'll see how Daniel Jones does against this defense. I think they have enough firepower in both the run game and the passing game to make this Titans team hurt a little bit. So Daniel Jones for sure is a start for me. Same thing with Jonathan Taylor. He blew up last week, really had a great game. He's the bell cow in this offense, and there's not many teams that have that bell cow back. The Colts definitely do with Jonathan Taylor. He can do everything. Clear start for me. Tyler Warren has been killing it. He has the most yards of any rookie tight end right now. He's towards the top of the league in yards. Love me some Tyler Warren, starting him pretty much every single week. And then Josh Downs, who was nursing a little bit of a hamstring issue. Seems like he's fully healthy now. He had a decent game last week. I'm starting Josh Downs. And then you see this name a lot whenever we're talking about the Titans, Calvin Ridley. He hasn't put it all together. He hasn't put it all together just yet this year. He's had some decent games. He's kind of been very similar to Stephon Diggs this year. But Ridley, I think he's still the main target in this offense, even in front of guys like Eli Manor. We'll talk about him in just a second. But I think Calvin Ridley's the only guy that I can safely feel confident starting in my flex spot. Then over to the sits, we got Cam Ward. I like Cam Ward. I see the talent multiple times every single game, but he just does not have the talent around him yet. I hate to say that. I'm not saying Cam Ward's a bad quarterback. I don't necessarily think he is, but he just doesn't have the talent around him yet, and the offense is not clicking yet, so I don't feel comfortable starting him right now. Elik Manor, he's kind of a byproduct of the point I just made. The offense isn't clicking, and he's only relevant if he gets a touchdown, really. I know he's got a decent amount of targets, but I just don't know how consistent that is. He's going to have to show me a little bit more than this week and last week for me to feel comfortable starting him. And then I'm finally putting Tony Pollard on the bench, man. He's had a ton of carries, and he hasn't been able to do much with it. The blocking hasn't really been great for him. Outside of one big catch, he's been pretty much irrelevant. So he'll get you 8 points maybe at his floor, but I'm staying away from him for now. Michael Pittman Jr., he's had a okay day at least one time this year. Definitely not a consistent guy. I'm staying away from him. When you have Tyler Warren and Josh Downs, you're going to stick to the short game. So, and then Alec Pierce, same kind of deal. He's their deep threat. He's going to be very inconsistent. He could pop off with Anthony Richardson under center. Daniel Jones, not so much. Any guy that I may have missed here?
No, I think this is kind of right. I mean, Cam Ward, I'm doing a full rebuild in one of my Dynasty leagues, so he's a must start because my quarterback options are so slim. Mm-hmm. But if you're a contender, you definitely want to make sure that you got better options than him for right now.
Absolutely.
It's a real rough sledding out there. And, man, like I said, I don't trust the Titans coach for a lick. So this is a pretty accurate starts, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
And Cam Ward, phenomenal player. He had a phenomenal touchdown pass. Look, if I'm the offensive coordinator, I'm telling you not to do that. But Cam Ward, he just has that ability to do that. So he can just.
You don't like the Superman throw across your body?
I hate that. I hate it so much. But guys like Josh Allen, guys like Cam Ward, they can do that. But
fair enough.
I saw him at Miami do it a couple times, and it ended up being an interception on the other team. So,
what's up, Danny?
What's up, Danny? What's going on, man?
Thanks for joining us.
So next thing we're going to be talking about the Jets going on the road versus the Buccaneers. Buccaneers, hard-fought win, right? They won week 2. Yeah, they did. Baker looked like he banged himself up a little bit, but got up, talked his shit, And the Jets, man, they are not starting their starting quarterback in Justin Fields. Tyrod Taylor will be stepping in, and I don't know if he's going to be able to survive the game. I hate to say it, but Tyrod Taylor is held together with duct tape at this point. He always gets hurt when he starts. Tampa Bay -6.5, home favorites here. I really like this line. I think the Bucs can win by 10 points.
Well, I'm going to push back. I'm going to say here that Tyrod Taylor is a serviceable quarterback. He's shown when he's in there he can be pretty steady. But the Buccaneers have lost 3 starting offensive linemen. Cody Mott goes out today with a season-ending injury, and it showed in the game against Houston. I mean, granted, Houston's got a better front four, but the Jets have Quentin Williams and Quincy Williams. Sauce Gardner, the defense is going to keep them in the game. I think the Jets have a chance to pull an upset here simply due to the injury bug that's going on. I mean, Agbuka hasn't practiced this week. They're really starting to feel it this early in the season. 6.5 is a lot of points for a team that's banged up. So I would keep my eye on the Jets getting the points there. It's a pretty healthy line. I mean, it's not like Tyrod Taylor is like a huge fall off to, somebody like Tim Boyle. No offense.
Yeah, 100%, or like a Kyle Allen or something like that. Yeah, he's a very serviceable backup for sure.
Yeah, and they still got Breece Hall, and they still got Braylon Allen, and they've still got Garrett Wilson. Yeah. So I think that this could be a competitive game. Tampa Bay might be a little bit exhausted from that amazing Monday night game, But I don't think that Tampa blows them out. I think I would take the points in this one here. Good matchup.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. But let's go ahead and talk about it. So Baker Mayfield, I feel like every single week it's just like he's bound to have one of those Baker games where it's like 2 touchdowns, 4 picks, right? He ain't had one of those yet. He's been playing phenomenally all year thus far, so I have to stick with my boy Baker as my QB1, QB2. Very confident in having him on my team as my QB. Emeka Egbuka, I know he's hurt a little bit. Want to say he's good to play, and man, he's been playing way above standard for a rookie, a traditional rookie, especially one that you take late in the first round. You see how Matthew Golden, not a slight to your Packers, they're just not able to hit him on those big throws. Emeka Egbuka, man, him and Baker have just been linked since week 1.
Two quick points on that before you get into Bucky. First of all, I'm a Packer fan, you're a Chiefs fan, but would you mutually agree that besides our teams, that watching Baker Mayfield is the most fun out of every other quarterback in the league. Because, I mean, the dude gets, as my cousin calls it, the eye of the tiger. And, like, he just goes out there and absolutely, like, dogs it, and in a great way, just throwing these passes, making plays, picking up his team, running his mouth, has that attitude about him. Absolute Baker fan. And then I know
he's a top 5 quarterback for me, for sure, to watch. I like Mahomes, obviously. I think he makes magic every single play. Lamar is a guy, Josh Allen, those guys. But Baker, man, he's just a gun-slinging psychopath, and he's a baller. He's a baller in every sense of the word.
And with Egbuka, I'm convinced had he fallen to Green Bay, they would have taken him. I think that's who they wanted. I think that's who they wanted, but good pick by the Bucs.
Well, you guys, not to slight your receiving core, but you're Jaden Reed. He's not just the best route runner in the world. He's a very athletic, speedy specimen, right? Like, people just look stupid after the catch. Egbuka, in my opinion, was one of the most pro-ready wide receivers in the class, and maybe he doesn't lack. He lacks a little bit of explosiveness after the catch. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Tyler Lockett in some ways, but a souped-up version of that. I'm glad that they're not using him specifically in the slot. They're using him out wide since Chris Godwin was out. So I think Egbuka has a great future here, especially once, Evans and Godwin move on, right? So love me some Emeka Egbuka. Didn't expect him to go this hard in year one, but phenomenal stuff. Bucky, he just makes magic happen when he has the ball in his hands. Really exciting player to watch. I think he's worth a start. I know Rachaad White had a decent day. That's not scaring me. He was running hot at one point, so they just started giving him the ball. And Bucky, he still performed fairly well. Garrett Wilson with Tyrod Taylor, you're not going to get as many other QB runs, not knocking Tyrod Taylor's rushing ability, but they're not going to run the ball as much with him under center. And I think Garrett Wilson's going to be a guy that gets a lot of targets this weekend with Tyrod Taylor. Think like Joe Flacco-esque. And then I think Breece Hall. Breece Hall has proven he's the guy that's getting the carries in these offense. He's the RB1, and everybody else is just second and third. Breece Hall, he's a almost workhorse guy because he's getting all the passing down work like Breece Hall, even versus this Tampa Bay defense. Then for sits, I'm not really confident in Tyrod Taylor. I would pick him up in your leagues as like a QB3, and maybe he does well and Fields gets hurt again. Then you have a stable quarterback. But right now, I wouldn't start him over pretty much 26 other quarterbacks. And then Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis, like I said to the Breece Hall point, they're just not getting the carries. I like Braylon as a talent. I love Isaiah Davis as a talent. Breece Hall's just getting all the carries. These guys are good stashes in Dynasty. When Breece Hall gets hurt again maybe or moves on to another team, he could be a trade target at the trade deadline if they're not a playoff team. So I like them as holds, but definitely not starts right now. And then Rachaad White, people will look at what he did last week. He ran hot, guys. That happens all the time. When a running back starts just going and he's on a roll, they're going to play him more. Rachaad White's going to go back to his 5-6 carries a game in this game specifically, unless he starts running hot. Then last but not least, I think Chris Godwin's going to play in this game. I'd sit him for 1 week just to see how he looks coming off that foot injury. I'm sure he'll be fine, but I want to give him a week just to see how he's doing.
Interesting. Mike Evans didn't make your list. Is he hurt?
He's not hurt. He's just a guy for me that I just don't really – I'm okay starting him in my flex spot, but like if he's my wide receiver one, I'm super worried. Not because he's bad, just because it just seems like he doesn't have the ceiling anymore with the Emeka Egbuka there,
Sure.
So go ahead and move on to the next matchup here. We got the Raiders, a team that was looking like they were going to be a problem after week one. And then, well, they kind of laid an egg this past weekend, past Monday. And they're going on the road versus another team that kind of laid an egg versus the Packers in week 2, and that's the Commanders. Commanders at home, they're 3.5-point favorites. How do you feel about this line? I feel like this is a decent line considering the defense for both teams. I'm not sure about this line, honestly.
Well, if I'm taking this game publicly, pardon me, Jaden Daniels is still kind of questionable to play. I think that's
He
going to
is like 80% not playing. From what I heard, he is like 80% no-go.
So because of that, I'm going to take Geno Smith in a recovery spot here. I think the Chargers just absolutely smothered them from a schematic standpoint and frustrated the Raiders all night long. I'm going to trust Max Crosby over what the Commanders have defensively. And I think that this might be the Ashton Jeanty breakout game. I think that, they're just going to keep plugging him the football. Games should be super close. So if you want to give me that hook, I'm going to take the 3 points here. I think that especially with Jaden Daniels out, because there's nothing to love about the Commanders' backfield. If I'm the Raiders, I'm just going to make you, double team Scary Terry and make you figure it out, especially with a backup quarterback. It's that simple. I'll take the Raiders and the points. Raiders, I might even sprinkle a little on the money line to win all the way across the country.
I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit here because I really liked what Marcus Mariota put on film last year when Jaden Daniels was out. I think he had like a groin injury or something last year. He looked phenomenal in this offense last year. Now, I will say the offense is kind of taking a step back because they have film. Cliff Kingsbury proves it every year that he does really great. He's got a great game plan for a year, and then he just can't adjust to anything. So Geno's fighting for his job at this point. Sorry, not sorry. He's on the hot seat right now. I think Geno has a couple of more bad performances, and then they're going to start Gardner Minshewing him. So I think I kind of agree with you on the Raiders line, but I'm going to go with the Commanders because I like Marcus Mariota more as a quarterback than Geno at this point. I know that sounds like a crazy thing to say, but I really liked what Marcus Mariota put on film. But for the starts, there's a couple of surprises here. I think Jacory Krosky-Merritt has solidified himself as the RB1 in this offense. And just because of that, I think this is going to be a slow, grindy game where both quarterbacks aren't really playing all that great, and you're going to have to rely on like a run game. Going to be a lot of time of possession. I think Jacory Krosky-Merritt gets a career high in carries thus far. So I'm going to start him. If I have anyone around the 10 to 12 point projection, I'm taking them over Jacory, but Jacory, him and Debo are the only guys that I would feel comfortable starting. And with Debo, I think he's going to get a ton of work underneath. They're going to have, like you said, they're going to put some heaters on Scary Terry this weekend, and Debo's going to have to be the guy that steps up. And thus far, he's been playing great. So we'll see how he does. I'm comfortable starting him each and every week until they tell me otherwise. And then Brock Bowers, he's fully healthy now, I think, off the knee injury. So obviously you're starting him even if he's questionable all week. Brock Bowers is phenomenal. A no-brainer start every single week. Jacoby Myers, dude, at some point he's kind of like a Kayshon Boutte for me, except he did good last year. Jacoby Myers did. Every week it just seems like he's just balling out. Love what he puts on tape. I'm going to start him in my flex and feel no negative feelings about that. And then last but not least, Ashton Jeanty. No, he hasn't had a great season thus far. Really started off slow. Last week showed a little bit of improvement, getting better. I think a learning curve has to come when you're playing in the Mountain West and you're coming to the NFL. There's a big learning curve. He showcases some of that athleticism. He spun out that defender. He's got some good stuff on film. I think it just takes him a while to get it all together, and I think he puts up even a better performance than in week 2. You're going to see a gradual increase with Ashton Jeanty. Then for the sits, Geno Smith, I'm not buying it anymore. Not because he's a bad quarterback, but because they don't have a lot of talent around him. I don't believe in the offense and what they're trying to do. And Geno Smith has really been struggling. So I'm keeping him off my lineup until he can prove to me he can be a stable fantasy asset. And then Trey Tucker. I don't know why this guy gets so many targets, but it's up and down with him. It was up and down with him last year. Same thing. I'm staying away from him for now. There's not really many other names in this offense that you can really talk about. And then for the Commanders, Marcus Mariota. I said he played great last year. I got to see it this year. He's 1 year older, hasn't played in a while. We'll see how he does versus this Raiders defense. Obviously, you're not starting either one of these guys unless you're in a bad way with quarterbacks. And Terry McLaurin, when you said just double Scary Terry all game long and make them work with Debo underneath, I think that's exactly some of the stuff that the Raiders are going to do. Scary Terry has been widely irrelevant this year. Unfortunately, I love him as a player. He just hasn't been relevant this year because the offense hasn't been clicking deep down the field because they have Debo. So not a big fan of him. I don't think he's going to be a reliable fantasy asset for us this year. And then Zach Ertz, he caught the touchdown last week. He was pretty much a nothing burger until the second half. With Marcus Mariota downgrading at quarterback, I am not a fan of pretty much any of the pass catchers outside of Debo because I think they're going to scheme Debo open much more than any of the other pass catchers.
Well, I think Brock Bowers will have a big game. Like I said, man, I can't write off Geno Smith just yet. I totally agree with what you're saying, though. Like, he's not what he was, but I think that they just played some really tough games.
Absolutely.
And I think there's going to be a lot more cushion here this week for him to kind of get back on.
I hope so because I love Geno Smith. He just hasn't been a consistent quarterback for the past 2 seasons now. So let's go ahead and go to the next matchup. Just keep it rolling. We got the Los Angeles Rams going on the road versus the Philadelphia Eagles. A team that's just been squeaking by their wins. They squeaked by the Dallas Cowboys. They squeaked by the Kansas City Chiefs. Now they're playing the Rams, who obviously I think might be the worst of the 3, but the Rams are on the road. They're on a roll right now as well. And Philadelphia at home, they're 3.5-point favorites. How do you feel about this line?
It's really hard for me to turn away points. I mean, you got guys in the front that can get to Jalen Hurts. You got Jared Verse. Their defense can keep up with them, and then offensively, as long as Stafford's around, they've got playmakers with Puka and with the backfield with Kyron Williams, and I like
Blake
Sean
McVay.
McVay
Looked great last week too.
Yeah, I think that the Rams will give them a game. I think this might be the first loss of the Eagles season here. Not fully saying that it's a money line bet, but I do like giving the 3 for sure. 3.5 could be a 23-20 Eagles win, and you still win. Obviously win the wager. But I think that the Rams are going to punch them in the mouth here. I mean, this was a playoff game last year, and kind of came down to the end. They gave the Eagles fits, and it feels like there's regression with Philadelphia. I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, the clip was, Jalen Hurts he hasn't thrown a 10-yard pass yet. Where's A.J. Brown been? Where are these guys at? You got this all-star lineup, but what's going on with the team? They just keep minimizing what they do offensively, and they're still winning because they've got great players on the defensive side of the ball as well, with Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter and, their linebacking core.
Their defense has really been keeping them in it because the offense hasn't been amazing. Saquon's been okay. Hurts has been okay with his legs, but they haven't been able to get the passing attack going at all.
The Rams are like the Chiefs to me, but with better weapons offensively this season. And I think because they're going to be able to notch out a win on the road. I feel like they could win this game. Not super confident enough to bet the money line, like I said, but I'm going to take the 3 and a hook.
Yeah, definitely. I feel kind of similarly here. I think this is a close, grindy game. I would take the under on the points in this game, but definitely think the Rams are a decent bet here. Let's go ahead and get to the start sit. So I'll start with the Eagles. Jalen Hurts, I still think if he's your QB1 even after last week's performance, he's pretty much guaranteed to have some sort of rushing touchdown every single week. I know his passing yards numbers are not going to be great, but this is going to have to be the game where they do something with the passing attack. I think the fans have voiced their concerns. I know that doesn't really matter to NFL coaches that much, but I think that noise has got into the locker room. I'm sure A.J. Brown's not happy. I'm sure Devonta Smith isn't happy, And the offense itself, Jalen Hurts probably isn't even happy with it because they haven't been playing great on offense. So I think they're going to try to make some changes. I know this offensive coordinator's new, so we'll see. But I do think Jalen Hurts is a start. Same with Saquon. I think he's going to get involved. He's going to have a big game, as he always does. And then Devonta Smith. I think Devonta Smith is the guy that I feel most confident starting with this Philadelphia Eagles receiver room. A.J. Brown's just been missing all year. Sorry.
Skinny Batman. That's what they call Devontae.
I think Devonta Smith, he's going to be able to do things underneath that A.J. Brown's not going to be asked to do. And I think he's the one that's going to be getting more targets than anyone else right now. And then for the Rams, I think Puka Nacua, he's been proven that he can stay healthy over the course of 2 games. Impressive. And every single target he gets seems to be a catch. So Puka Nacua, he's a guy that's going to get you probably 12, 13 points at a minimum every single week. So love that. Starting him, if he's your wide receiver 1, I wouldn't feel bad about it whatsoever until he gets hurt. And then Kyron, I think.
That's a photo of Puka? That looks like Caleb Williams. Is that a photo of Puka?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just look a little small on my screen.
What?
Oh, now I see it.
Okay, I was going to say, Puka and Caleb, they're not like twins or anything.
No, but it looks really small on my screen. That's why I was like, man, that looks like, but then I realized his hair is back in that photo, so that's what it is.
So then we have Kyron. I know Kyron didn't have the greatest day last week. They still gave him the ball a ton. They just didn't get the touchdown, which he normally gets the touchdown. So I know he's not touchdown dependent because he does get a bunch of carries. So definitely think Kyron is a good bet this week as well versus the Philadelphia Eagles front, which is a good front, but I think Kyron will still have a decent day on the goal line. Then for the sits, Matthew Stafford, this is a good defense that he's playing against, and he hasn't really put up a big-time stat line. He's a great quarterback, a real-life quarterback, but for fantasy, he's just never, since he's been with the Rams, hasn't been a phenomenal fantasy asset for us. So sitting him for now, if he's your QB3, I wouldn't feel too bad about it. Then Devontae, I think with this passing attack, their defense is good enough to where they're going to limit the passing attack somewhat. And I think Puka's the only one that I'd feel confident starting. Devontae, he's an iffy starter for me. I wouldn't feel super happy starting him. So keeping him on the bench if I have any options around his tier available. And then A.J. Brown, he's been invisible all year. If you took him, I'd feel bad for you, honestly. He's a vertical X receiver. You should be taking vertical X receivers in your league anyways, just because they're like this. They can get 2 catches for 17 yards, and then the next week, 7 catches for 130 yards. If they can beat you deep, they'll beat you deep. But if they can't, they're nothing. They're nothing burgers. They can't get open underneath, So A.J. Brown, they're going to have to start using him underneath to be somewhat effective, because for whatever they're doing against Philadelphia, they're going to keep doing it because it's working. So A.J. Brown, he's a sit for me until he proves me otherwise. Same thing with Dallas Goedert. He's coming off an injury. We're not even sure if he's going to play this week. It looks like he's going to play, but he did look good week 1 versus the Cowboys. Sitting him for now. There's probably better options out there. And then Jahan Dotson. This dude gets a big catch every single game. He's not going to be a consistent option. I'm keeping him on the bench for now.
Yep, not a Dotson guy. It's a good list here, but I like Stafford starting though. I do.
Yeah, if you have Stafford in Superflex, you've probably got better options 9 times out of 10. So that's why I'm telling you to sit him. Like for these QB3 guys, I'll tell you to start them if I really feel good about them, like over a guy like maybe Caleb Williams or Bo Nix, one of those guys. But I like Bo Nix and Caleb better than Stafford, at least for this week. So we'll go ahead and get to the next matchup here, just rocking and rolling. We've got now we're going a little too fast.
No, you went back.
We got the Atlanta Falcons going on the road to play the Carolina Panthers, a little NFC South action. Atlanta, despite being the same record, I believe, the Falcons are 0-2, right?
They're
Panthers are
1-1. Okay. Panthers are 0-2.
I thought they won the game last week. Anyways, Falcons are 5.5 point favorites. And man, the Panthers, they looked horrible early on, and then Bryce Young really turned it up last week in the game and made it somewhat close. The Falcons defensively been getting sacks. If you're a Falcons fan, I'm sure you are thrilled with that because historically terrible at getting sacks. Now I guess those 2 edge rushers in the first round are kind of paying off for you. So how do you feel about this line? I'm kind of rocking with the Panthers, honestly. I think their first win is this week.
I agree with it too. I mean, the Falcons went on the road and had an exhausting win over the Minnesota Vikings. But let's just be real. J.J. McCarthy looks like absolute dog poop. That's what happens when you don't have the other team's plays, J.J. You're not you're always going to be certified bum to me for cheating at Michigan. I'll say it every week. I don't care if you're a Michigan fan and want to cry about it in the comments. You can cry a little harder. I don't think he's an elite player. This is the kind of thing that happens. I mean, they were lucky to beat Chicago in week 1. If he didn't have that electric fourth quarter. But Justin Jefferson looked visibly frustrated with JJ. And I think the Falcons just were able to pull away. I mean, and with the Panthers, I like, Chuba Hubbard to get more carries. Bryce Young they got to have this game. I think this is a team that's desperate. And 5.5 at home is a lot for a team that hasn't looked impressive. I mean, it's not like the Falcons went in there and put belt to ass to Minnesota.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, neither team.
They beat them with field goals.
I mean, it was just a ridiculously poor offensive showing for the Falcons. And this is my favorite division in the NFL, having a divisional matchup that we always talk about every time we have a show. So it's going to be a slobber knocker, as good old JR would say. By God, Bryce Young throws a touchdown. I think this is the Tet breakout game.
I wish y'all could see me doing my Waddle right now. Waddle just caught a slant in the end zone, and I started him in multiple leagues, so happy for that. That's his first catch for Tutty. Love that. So also, I know we didn't talk about the line, but Miami were 11.5-point dogs versus
I got him
the Bills.
At 13.
You have them at 13. I got a line right now on Cut. We'll talk about Cut in a minute, but I had them at 11.5. So love that. It's 14-14 at halftime. I'm like, and I'll say this. I know it didn't work out last week with the Browns, but it's like more often than not, if there's a game where a team is 10-plus point dogs, I'm going to take them pretty much every single time unless it is a garbage fire team, because 9 times out of 10, they're going to hit, man.
We'll go over that when we get to the Cut stuff. I'm explaining something that I have a theory on. One of my betting principles. But yeah, I take the Panthers in the points here.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and do the start sits here. So Michael Penix Jr., I think, is a start. This Carolina defense has not been great. So I do think Michael Penix Jr. is going to have a solid game this week. Finally, he needs one because he's had like 1 touchdown, no pick, 210-yard games enough this year. So I need him to really turn it on versus a bad defense and try to get a high-scoring game here. I do expect somewhat of a high-scoring game here. And then Bijan Robinson. Look, I keep saying Bijan. He switched it up on me. He said, Bijan? That's what his mama calls him. That's how you're supposed to say it. And then he comes back and says, I don't want to be Bijan. I want to be Bijan. That sounds cooler. So I'm going to call him Bijan out of respect of him. Bijan might be the best running back in the NFL right now. Definitely feel great about him each and every single week. So I'm going to start him, especially versus this Carolina front. Then Drake London. He's not had the year he wants to have. But I do think that the Falcons offense is really going to start getting it going this week. And Drake London will be a very high-value fantasy receiver after this week. So let's go ahead and get to the Panthers. I know you see Bryce Young nowhere on this list. I'm staying away from him right now. I don't want to start him, don't want to sit him. I don't know what to do with Bryce Young right now, okay? Because he really looked great last week. And then in week 1, he looked horrible. So I don't know what to do with Bryce Young. If you're starting him, you're brave. If you're sitting him, you're brave. I don't know. But I do think Tet McMillan is going to be a very reliable option for you each and every week. He had 100 yards last week. I think you'll have something similar this week with this defense as long as Bryce Young can stay off of the ground with these Falcons pass rushers. I think Tet McMillan, he's going to get involved regardless. And then Chuba Hubbard, like you said earlier, I think Chuba Hubbard's going to get the rock a lot. He's getting the rock a lot anyways. I think he gets the rock a lot this game. So definitely like Chuba Hubbard, like his receiving capabilities as well. All around, I think he's one of those workhorse backs. He's not a Jonathan Taylor, but he's a little bit of a step below him. He's like your Dollar General brand Jonathan Taylor. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Having him on your team, starting him as your RB2, I wouldn't feel bad about that at all. Then for your sits, Darnell Mooney's been on and off with injuries this year. I do think he might have a solid game, but not solid enough to where I can comfortably start him over a guy like, Tet McMillan in my flex. Ray McLeod, I don't know what's up with this Falcons offensive coordinator and how much he loves Ray McLeod. They need to stop it. I like Ray McCloud. He shouldn't be the focal point of your offense, and I think that's going to change at some point this year. Will it be this week? I don't know. But they need to get this weird obsession of Ray McCloud out of their head, okay? Because you got Drake London. You drafted him early in the first round for a reason. Use him. Then Tyler Algier. I think he's only relevant. I don't know if I spelled that right. His last name is one of the hardest names to spell. That's not how you spell it. That's okay. Tyler Algier, unless he starts running hot, he's irrelevant, unfortunately. Love him as a free agent next year. A team's going to get a really good back if the Falcons don't pay him. I don't see why they would. But Tyler Algier, I think he's a great play next year if you have him in Dynasty. This year, staying away from him for now. And then for the Panthers, JT Sanders, he had a great game last week. Don't let that bait you. I think the Panthers receivers are going to get a lot of work. I don't know if he's necessarily going to get the work. I will say real quick, I just traded JT Sanders in a third for Harold Fannin Jr. in a second. We'll talk about Harold Fannin Jr. in a little bit, but that's crazy, ain't it? That's crazy. I'm going to hype Harold Fannin Jr. up till the day I die. JT Sanders, he's bait. Don't start him this week. Next up, we have Xavier Legette. Why he's bad, I don't know. He's getting the targets. He just can't bring them in. You know, he's the vertical X receiver. You know, he's going to get a lot of bad quality balls here and there. Didn't think he was a first-round talent. They picked him in the first round anyways. He's a super athlete. He's still raw. I'll say that probably every single week until he has a big week.
I'll say this about Xavier Legette. Like, they moved up one spot to draft him in the first round, and I think that their thinking was to get him, and if he was just absolutely electric, is where they'd have the fifth-year option.
Yeah.
But he was a super late breakout, had one great season. I think he's going to be one of the biggest misses. Super cool dude, super funny dude. His eating raccoons and all this nonsense is hilarious stuff. And, you know, another part of it might have been, you know, he's right there in South Carolina, stays, you know, relatively close in Charlotte.
And our scouts probably got a lot of film on him and got excited. And that's exactly what probably happened.
I'm with you. I didn't think he was a first-round talent. I think that they're missing Jalen Coker way more than they'd like to admit. Yeah. And about Bryce Young, you know, they did come roaring back on the road here in Phoenix last week.
Absolutely.
They just could not get the job done. Ran out of time, but, you know, don't let yourself get in those holes. So
they're coming off that momentum, though.
Well, momentum, I think, is a false dichotomy because it could be taken from you at any time.
Absolutely. But with Legette, I do think he does have a future in the NFL, but he's just really, really raw right now. As a route runner, he's really raw in his role right now. You can't really use him inside right now. You can't really use him over the middle of the field that much either. So Legette, he's going to have to keep evolving and keep taking his role seriously, and then I think he can be somewhat effective at the NFL level. But right now, he's just too raw for me. Next up, we have the Texans. Two teams that are just in really weird spots right now on both sides of the ball. You have the Texans, who just can't really get anything going on either side of the ball. And then you have them going on the road versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, who T-Law has been like up and then kind of down, and the running game's been going great. The receivers, their main receiver in BTJ, he's scared of the football. You know, what happened? The team's kind of, Trevor Lawrence and Cohen on the sideline just kind of, yapping at each other. I don't know who to choose in this game. I think this is a mid-off, honestly. I like the Jaguars preseason, but I think this is a mid-off, and I guess I'd go with the home team here with the -2, but I do think the Texans might be a better team. They're just worse coached.
I think this is one of my favorite plays of the week. I'm taking the Jags and I'm laying the points because, first of all, the Texans have a turnstile of an offensive line right now.
Yeah,
and
that's the biggest problem with them, I think.
Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen are going to have a day. They're going to have a day.
Unleash.
CJ Stroud is like, you saw it with the Buccaneers. The defense looked like they were the 85 Bears out there. Yep. I think the Jags are at home. They're going to get this right. Travis Etienne is playing in his normal early season mode. He's doing great. I don't think Brian Thomas is going to stay down. I think this might be a fun game for Travis Hunter. I love the Jags to cover 2 at home all day long. Might be one of my favorite plays of the week. I think the Texans are trending down because of that offensive line. I mean, they still got Will Anderson and they got Daniel Hunter, and those guys are killers as well. but I'll
Yep.
take the Jaguars' offensive line over the Texans' offensive line. And I think that that's going to be the difference in the game. Because, Nick Chubb showing that he's having a bit of a resurgence, which is to be expected. He broke off a 25-yard touchdown run on Monday, so it's pretty good game. But I'm gonna take the Jags. I feel more confident just because I think that their pass rush is better, even though I love Will Anderson.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into the start sits. I was a little spazzing out a little bit over here, but ignore me. I do think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a field day with the offense versus this defense. Yeah, they have Will Anderson and Derek Stingley, but outside of that, they don't really have much going on defense, unfortunately. And I do think Trevor Lawrence is going to have his best game of the year versus this Texas defense. And I think Brian Thomas Jr., Trevor Lawrence even told the media, he said, hey, it's week 3, guys. Relax. I think Brian Thomas Jr. comes into his own. I don't like the body language with him. What's going on with him not being able to catch the football, I don't know. But he's going to have to figure out who the 2024 version of him was and get it ready to go. I do think I'm going to give Brian Thomas Jr. another week or two for him to show me that he's startable. If he keeps doing this, I can't start him. I'm really close. But Travis Etienne, Bayshol Tutin's been banged up out throughout the week. Travis Etienne has looked phenomenal, averaging over 7 yards a carry thus far, even catching and receiving touchdowns as well. So Travis Etienne, he's a no-brainer start for me. If he was even your RB1, he's like the RB7 on the season right now. So Definitely love Etienne this year. Was very hesitant on him preseason because of the backfield situation. Right now, I love him. Nico Collins actually finally had a decent game last week versus the Buccaneers. I'm comfortable starting him pretty much every single week. And then CJ Stroud, I think this is going to be kind of a mid-off in some cases. I do think CJ Stroud will be just good enough, right above mid, for him to be, 2 touchdowns, 220 yards, something like that. I think that could be a stat line, and I think Trevor Lawrence will outduel him, unfortunately. Then for the sits, Nick Chubb, he just hasn't been super efficient with the ball. He's got a lot of touches, which I think he will continue to have touches, but I do think Woody Marks is going to have more of a role in week 3 than people realize just because of his performance in week 2 versus the Buccaneers. I like Nick Chubb. He's one of my favorite human beings on the planet. But with him, he's been stopped over and over and over again. And unfortunately, he's not the same Nick Chubb from 2018. I wish he was, but he's not. I'm not super comfortable starting him this week. I think he's like an 8 to 9 point play right now. And I think for running backs, there's way better plays out there. And Jaden Higgins, I don't want to do victory laps too much, but I was very much out on Jaden Higgins coming out of Iowa State. I thought he was slow. I thought he couldn't really run routes that well. Well, it's showing in the NFL thus far. Yes, the Texans' offense is not great because they can't get the ball out to anybody, but Jaden Higgins hasn't looked great on film either. Fading him until he tries to get something together. Then Travis Hunter, his target share has gone down and down each and every week, and they've been playing him more and more and more on defense. So that kind of scares me. I need to see something from him to where he's a consistent receiver because his point total is like 10 points right now. I'm not in on it at all. Bayshol Tutin, he's been banged up. I think outside of a big time catch or a big time play, he's pretty much irrelevant. And then with De'Ami Brown, he's been very consistent. I think he had like 6 targets, 6 catches, and a touchdown last week.
Yeah,
I'm just not comfortable starting him yet. He's like week 1 Boutte for me to where I'm like, I need to see this like every week for me to feel confident starting De'Ami Brown. Anything that I missed here, or are we pretty good on this?
I think I think this is pretty good because I think that the Jaguars front will keep Nick Chubb in check. So that's but I agree with everything here. I mean, CJ Stroud, I have question marks on, but we'll see.
Heck yeah. All right, well, let's go ahead and get down to the next matchup. We're going at a great pace. We got your Green Bay Packers going on the road versus the Cleveland Browns, who have been really trying to find themselves this year. And Green Bay have the opposite problem. They know exactly what they're doing on offense and defense. Green Bay 7.5-point favorites. You know, I liked the Browns plus 11.5 versus the Ravens last week. They couldn't get that done. I think the Packers might cover here.
I'm going to take the Browns and the points at home here.
Really? Okay.
Yep. I think this might be a little bit of a the Packers have the extra rest, but the Browns have the number one defense. They just have the number one defense, and I think this might be a little bit of a bumpy spot when you're looking – might be a look-ahead spot for Green Bay a little bit because after this is Dallas. And then they got their bye week. But this feels like it could be a trap game. It is in Cleveland. But, man, if it's Joe Flacco, like he's why the line is so high because he's been he's just 40 years old and he should be a backup. He can't be starting in this league. And it feels like
Dylan Gabriel, they threw him in there. He went 3 for 3 and a touchdown. So
it was also garbage time.
It was garbage time, but he might get an earlier appearance.
Well, I think what might happen. Remember what I said? One of my my takes was Deshaun Watson might come back and start playing for this team because everything else on the Cleveland Browns is good. The defense is good. Their skill players are good. Their backfield looks really good. You know, Quinshon Judkins is that guy. He showed it in one game that he could break tackles and get out there. He
looked phenomenal. He really kind of once he started getting he had over 6 yards a carry, had a couple of catches.
I knew it was
good. We just needed to know when he was going to play.
Right. They got Fannin. They got Njoku. They got Judy. It's the quarterback holding this team back. I'm telling you, this is a deep playoff team with consistent quarterback play. 7.5 is way too much for me. So I'm going to take the points here. I mean, I hope the Packers win. I hope they don't fall asleep and think that they're just going to walk into Cleveland and look at last week's performance and use that as an indicator to where they're going to just go right into it and say that they're going to arrive because I'm just not so sure. So give me the Browns and the points, but I hope the Packers win.
Shout out Ringside Rants, man.
Yeah, they're a wrestling show they go live every Tuesday. I've been watching their streams. They've had me on there. They're a couple of great dudes who like to watch wrestling and talk wrestling for a good few hours. So if you are watching, go subscribe to their channel. They got great stuff. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Yeah, you mentioned a few names that I really like, and we're going to talk about this.
I'll be back in 1 second. Keep going. I'll be back. Just keep going. I'll be right back.
Well, wow, this is what a time for him to leave because this is his team that we're talking about. Look, Jordan Love had my questions about him throughout the offseason. Hasn't been the most accurate. He hasn't even been the most accurate this year. He's missed a couple of deep bombs, things like that. But I do think with this offense and defense, how things have just been clicking with the Packers, I do think Jordan Love is a suitable starter right now. If he's your QB2, you should be really happy about it. Josh Jacobs, he's a guy that's going to get you at least 10 points every single week. So love Josh Jacobs. He's probably one of the most consistent fantasy running backs in the NFL. So he's a must start for you. And then Tucker Kraft, I know he tweaked his knee in practice today. Didn't really update this. But if he's able to play, I'm still starting him. He looks like a focal point in this offense thus far. He's the tight end 1 on the season. No, he tweaked his knee a little bit. We'll see how he ends up playing. But Tucker Kraft, if he plays, I'm 100% cool with starting him in my tight end slot. Not as much as another guy on this start list, but we'll talk about him in just a second. Jerry Jeudy, I think he's the only suitable wide receiver in this offense right now that I like, that I feel comfortable starting. Jerry Jeudy, Alabama alum. I think he's really talented, has a lot of really cool things after the catch. I think regardless of who his quarterback is, he can be somewhat relevant. And the last guy, if you get anything out of this show, it is go find Harold Fannin in your Dynasty leagues. Tell the Harold Fannin Jr. owner, I'm going to give you a 2026 second for Harold Fannin Jr. You're going to give him to me. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Harold Fannin Jr. is a little bit like Marcus Colston's rookie season where he's a wide receiver. He is a wide receiver. The Browns use him like a wide receiver, and he's a tight end. You can play him in your tight end slot. I cannot explain to you how important and how much of an advantage that is to have Harold Fannin Jr. in your starting lineup.
Yeah.
Both games, he's had over 5 catches, 50 yards. If you're in a tight end premium league, that's phenomenal. He has been killing it. They use him all over the place. In a terrible offensive showing from the Browns, he still was irrelevant over, I think, 13 points, 14 points in your tight end premium leagues. He is a slam dunk. He's 21 years old. 21 years old. He's going to be a superstar, especially when they get rid of Njoku. So you pick up Harold Fannin Jr. in your dynasty leagues, start him in fantasy, pick him up off the waiver if he's not there already. He's going to be a problem for a long time, barring injury, of course. Then for sits, Joe Flacco could be benched by halftime, honestly, if he continues to play like he's been playing. Because the Browns, like you said, the roster is not bad. It's not
at
bad.
all.
It's not bad at all.
No.
So all you need is the quarterback to figure it out. Joe Flacco hasn't figured it out. He has more interceptions than he does touchdowns. I can't continue to start him. I never started him in the first place. I'm out on him completely. Dylan Sampson, Quinshon Judkins is here, and he's here to stay. He's going to get the majority of the carries. Dylan Sampson is going to become irrelevant outside of a change of pace back. Quinshon Judkins, if I could start 6 people on this left side, he would be my 6th start. I might even feel comfortable starting him in the flex over Jerry Jeudy. I know. He looked that good in week 2. Cedric Tillman, he's only good if he scores a touchdown. David Njoku, he's kind of been filtered out of the offense with Harold Fannin Jr. And then the only sit for the Packers for me is Matthew Golden, unfortunately. Look, he's this close. Last week, he was this close to having like 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. This close. Jordan Love, look, whether you like him or not as a quarterback, he's just not the most accurate deep down the field. And overall, he's not the most accurate in general, but he's just on the deep throws, he's just a tad off with Matthew Golden right now. If they get the chemistry down later in the season, I think Matthew Golden can be a big boomer bust wide receiver for you, kind of similarly to how I feel about Jameson Williams. Any thoughts about this? This is your team. Any hidden Packer players? I know Dontavian Wicks has been getting a ton of targets here lately.
It's my guy. He's my favorite wide receiver in that team.
Yeah, he's a
super
star.
high on him. I think this is pretty accurate first, sit start. I would be a little more just slightly apprehensive on Fannin because you don't know what Cleveland's going to be running with, if they're going to be running 12 personnel. But everything else is pretty much on par. I think that
even in their standard offensive 3 wide receiver sets, guess who's in the slot for him? Harold Fannin Jr.
So it's like what everything you wanted Kyle Pitts to be is what you're telling me.
He's being utilized as a fullback, running back. You know that meme, offensive coach, defensive coach, offensive lineman. That's what Harold Fannin Jr. is. He's a monster. I'm telling you guys, in your tight end slot, there's no one better right now outside of like maybe Tyler Warren is one, like Brock Bowers. Like they utilize their tight ends kind of like wide receivers. Harold Fannin Jr. is like the next. I would start him in your flex if you have those tight ends. Like start him regardless. I'm telling you, he's a monster. The Browns are utilizing him as a focal point in their offense. But now we get to talk about our sponsor of today and all of the Cover 2 Cash episodes. It's Cut, one of the cooler. Maybe the coolest betting platform out there. I'm really impressed with the UI. I'm really impressed with the whole flow of the app. We've been using the heck out of it for the past few weeks. Really been doing great things over at Cut. You want to go ahead and explain to them a little bit about Cut and what they offer and what they are all about?
Well, we're all about betting on anything, whether it's sports, whether the next person to lose their job on television. You can create your own bets on Cut. That's what's pretty amazing. And somebody out there might see it and take it. That's what's great about it. You can bet on professional wrestling. You can bet on award shows. You can bet on elections. You can bet on Miami being tied with Buffalo at the half. You can bet on the Packers and the Browns. You can bet on college football. Whatever it is you want to bet on, they will have it there. If you want to bet on CFL, which you should, and you should be following my channel if you like Canadian football. But nonetheless, anything that you want to make, anything that you could find, go to Cut, download the app, sign up today, use our code, get that nice little fat bonus when you sign up, and start making some money. It's part of what we do on the show. We do fantasy, we do sports betting, we do previews, we talk about any NFL, and we have our handful a little bit of college, and they are a fantastic sponsor. I absolutely love Cut. And because of our connection to Cut, we'll have a little reveal for what's going on next week, but we're not going to tell you just yet. You got to stay tuned and subscribe to my X or my YouTube channel for the video premiere, because we do have a guest next Thursday. It's happening. So
that is
it's
confirmed.
Definitely confirmed who the guest is, and we just got to make sure that we announce it accordingly.
Bills did take the lead, man. They did. James Cook just got another run. He's been playing phenomenally. And
Ringside Rants, they do know who the guest is, and I would appreciate it if they do not spoil it. Do not spoil it because, there are a couple of those guys on that show are college football fans. So that's, and I put on there I put a little GIF up there to let everybody know who it is. But
heck yeah.
Nonetheless, we're really excited about that going on next week. So
heck yeah. Well, moving forward, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that's been real hot and cold over the past couple of weeks, going on the road versus the New England Patriots, a team that's also been kind of hot and cold. Pittsburgh minus 2 point favorites. I like the Patriots at home here, +2. What about you?
Well, this game's a real tough one for me. Home dogs are kind of my thing. But, man, what is it going to be with the Steelers? I mean, in the first game, Aaron Rodgers throws 4 touchdowns, and then last week he looks like he's got cement in his feet. I think that 1-1 for both these teams is kind of a real turning point for their season. But, man, the Patriots just look like, they don't know what's going on. Mike Vrabel just kind of feels a little scattered. It's still just kind of getting things set for both these teams. So this is a void game for me. If if it was just saying pick it regardless, pistol to my head, I'm going to take the 2 points at home.
Yeah.
Absolute avoid at all costs. I mean, DK Metcalf might go off for 500 yards in this game. But on the same note, Keyshawn Butte may go for 100 yards and 2 tutties himself.
I love how we're putting DK and Butte around the same sentences, man. I'm liking this a lot. Liking this a whole lot.
And Rodgers, was kind of irritated with him last week. But, that's always been his MO. That's always been kind of what Aaron Rodgers is about. But I would take the points at home. I mean, Tomlin's the better coach, the more experienced coach. Rodgers is the more experienced quarterback. But, man, it just feels like Jaylen Warren could fumble the ball or something goof troop happens, and the Patriots just sneak it out of there. So,
yeah,
I avoid at all costs.
So I really like the +2 for the Patriots. I really do, because I like the quarterback better. I like Drake May more than Aaron Rodgers. I like the receiving core more, and I like the Steelers' receiving core. I like the tight end room. I like everything about the offense more than I like the Steelers. Now,
so,
that means nothing when it comes to defenses. I do like the defense for both of these teams, but
there's going to be one start and sit that we're going to disagree on.
Yeah.
But go ahead and go through your list.
I'm going to assume it's the Patriots running back room, but I want to go ahead and start with this. I think Drake May, with last week, week 1, he looked a little rattled. Just kind of had to figure some things out. He looked great last week. And I'm starting him because he's got the rushing upside. He can get you rushing touchdowns. He can get you passing touchdowns. He looked really good last week. So I'm starting him. If he's your QB2 or if he's your QB1 even, I wouldn't feel super bad about it. And Travion Henderson, I'm riding him till the wheels fall off, man. He looked great in week 1. And I thought that was his floor. Well, he only had 3 carries in week 2. I know he's a little bit banged up from week 1. I think in week 3, they're really going to start unleashing him versus this Pittsburgh Steelers defense. And why I believe that is because the linebackers for the Pittsburgh Steelers aren't as athletic as the teams that they've played in the previous weeks. And I think Travion Henderson, once he gets to the second level, he's going to bust off a phenomenal play out of nowhere. You'll see him on ESPN at some point this weekend. And Kayshon Boutte, look, I'm fully on the train. I can't not be on the train anymore. I can't not be here anymore. I think Kayshon Boutte is the wide receiver one for the Patriots. Him and Drake May just have a really good relationship. I mean, he just gets the ball all the time. So Boutte is a solid flex play for me, and I wouldn't feel bad about having him in my starting lineup whatsoever. And then for the Steelers, Jaylen Warren, I guess, is a start at this point. He's getting a ton of carries. Caleb Johnson, we'll talk about him in a minute. He completely just screwed his job for the foreseeable future with the kick return. And Jaylen Warren seems like he's going to be the guy to get the passing work and the rushing work. So with that, he's probably a start, right? And then Calvin Austin, for whatever reason, Aaron Rodgers loves him some Calvin Austin. Last year, Calvin Austin had a few big games here and there. This year, he seems a little bit more consistent. So I'll start him in my flex if I have to. I wouldn't feel super bad about it. Then for the sits, Aaron Rodgers, way too hot and cold for me. Way too hot and cold for me this year. So just not super comfortable starting him each and every week right now. DK, same deal. I don't know about the quarterback situation. Him and DK seem to be a little off thus far. So I'm just not comfortable with starting DK. He's just very hot and cold as a skill set anyways. Caleb, completely out on him now. I loved him coming out of Iowa, really high on him, but seems like they just got him on kickoffs. That didn't work out, so he's probably riding the bench for a little bit. Hopefully he can get some carries, but you got to get special teams right in the NFL first before you start getting a bunch of carries. Ramondre, I think this is probably where we're going to disagree. He had a better week this past week than he did in week one. I just don't know what he offers outside of being a power back, and the running game hasn't been great with him being the main back. And I think when they see the lightning that they have in a bottle with Travion Henderson, they're going to start using him a lot more. I'm going to ride him till the wheels fall off, man. And then last but not least, Stephon Diggs got the controversy with Cardi B. Another kid, he's probably got some stuff to think about. We'll see. I don't know. But Stephon Diggs hasn't been playing great either. He's been like 8 points every single week. He's kind of like bad Khalil Shakir right now. So he's not a guy that I'm comfortable starting right now.
I think he's a little past his prime, to be honest. I was amazed that somebody picked him up. But I will
for the money that they paid him too.
Yeah, I'll push back on Ramondre because that was the disagreement, because the volume. I mean, Ramondre ran the ball. They threw him. He was the leading receiver on the team last.
Well, he did have one big-time catch. He did.
Well, but he was still the leading receiver. Like, he still had the most receptions on the whole team. That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
The Patriots paid – this is what frustrates people who love Travion Henderson is the Patriots extended Ramondre. You're not just going to pay players to sit on the bench unless you're absolutely the Atlanta Falcons and Kirk Cousins. I mean, you really have to – and he hasn't done anything. I mean, I know he had that lousy season last year, but I think that Vrabel likes his style more than he likes Travion Henderson's style a little bit.
Hey, Derrick Henry enjoyer he is, right? So they're not the same player by any means, but they're still both big backs, right? So,
but I will say this too, for starting and sitting this week, the reason why I would like Ramondre more is because I read something today that Travion Henderson is struggling with pass pro. And if you struggle in pass pro in the NFL, you're not going to be on the starting. They said that he is not adapted to the speed of the NFL athletes compared to what he was doing at Ohio State. That's what I read verbatim.
That's interesting because I've watched his film week 1 and week 2, and it's looked great in pass pro. That might be his best asset. That's interesting that you read that.
I'm not making that up. I'm just saying, like, compared to what's going on with Ramondre Stevenson. So that's the only pushback that I have on those start sits.
Interesting. Okay.
And Caleb Johnson is not a returner. What are the Steelers doing?
I don't know what they were doing there. I don't know. Maybe they're like, he rookie. He needs to prove himself on special team. Like, I mean, all right, whatever, man. Whatever you think. Like,
if I'm a head coach,
he's a one-cut runner.
If I'm a head coach or a GM, what I do is I find one player, an elite athlete, and I mean, you're going to get tons of them in the NFL. And he's going to play on all special teams, all of them. He's going to play kick return, punt return, field goal block, field goal. He's going to be he's actually going to be on the field goal blocking unit on the edge, right? And what you can do with him is make him an absolute menace to try and defend. You put him on punt team, you don't know if you're going to fake the punt to him because he's somebody that can catch the ball and be fast. You put him on field goal, you can fake a field goal. You put him on kickoff team, make him get down there and gun. If you pay somebody enough money to prove themselves in the league to do it, that's I don't know what you would even call the position. But nonetheless, NFL teams, I think, need to find a player that can do all this. And Caleb Johnson is not that guy. Sky Moore, not that guy. Stop making these guys that didn't do returns in college do this to get on your team, especially when you draft them in the top half of the draft. It's ridiculous.
Well, when you think about the best returners of all time, Devin Hester didn't play. I mean, they tried to play him on offense at times. Didn't work out. Josh Cribbs could barely get on the field, So, like, if you primarily have somebody's job be this, they're going to be good at that job. If you try to make them do everything all at one time, it might get a little bit muddy. So definitely can see your point there for sure. And then we're going to go next up to the Cincinnati Bengals going on the road versus the Vikings. This was kind of like an exciting matchup like 10 days ago. Now it's not so much. You've got Jake Browning playing against Carson Wentz, Jake Browning, I think, proved that he should be a starting quarterback. I know he threw 3 picks, but, won them the game, stayed in there, won them the game. I don't think Desmond Ridder is a guy that you're going to want to start over Jake Browning. No disrespect to Desmond Ridder, but come on. Minnesota's minus 3-point favorites at home. I do like Jake Browning a little bit more than I like Carson Wentz, at least from what I saw him do with the Chiefs last year.
Well, not just that. You've got better weapons in Cincinnati than you do in Minnesota. Yep. Addison's still out for this game. Aaron Jones is injured. McCarthy's injured. Dallas Turner isn't on the field for some reason. So the Vikings defense is kind of, I thought they were going to be an absolute force, and they're just not.
They're using Dallas Turner as more as a rotational guy, it seems.
Like, it's ridiculous. He's your first-round pick. Is he really that unproven? But I think the Bengals got something to prove here with Browning. He's got experience, and he's had success. So this isn't like he's been signed off like Wentz is on a new team here. And Browning was, with the Bengals and had stepped in last year for Burrow and did fairly well with them. I think you're going to see T. Higgins get a lot of looks here in this game. Jamar Chase will get his stuff, but the Bengals do have to figure out the run game because it is a disaster piece from what I've seen. Defense or on the offensive side of the ball for Cincinnati running the football, I'd avoid it at all costs. But I think this game's a push for this spread, but I do think the Bengals start out 3-0, and it's just an upside-down world there with their star quarterback, has turf toe, and he's out. But I would take the Bengals here. I think the Vikings were really kind of in disarray with J.J. McCarthy anyway. I don't know if Carson Wentz can do that. So
absolutely. Yeah, so I guess we'll go ahead and get right into the start sit. So, as you know, Aaron Jones on IR. So who's going to be the guy? In my opinion, the guy that's looked the best out of the two is Jordan Mason. His durability, huge question mark for me. But right now, he's going to get every single carry for the most part in this offense. So definitely starting him. Justin Jefferson, yes, I know he's been not the best over the first 2 weeks because JJ McCarthy just hasn't been able to figure it out. Justin Jefferson is still the best receiver, in my opinion, in the NFL. So sticking with him, you're not playing fantasy right if you're not starting him. Adam Thielen, another guy that I think he's going to be the safety blanket for Carson Wentz, I think, and he's going to get a lot of underneath routes. So I think Adam Thielen will be somewhat relevant in this game, at least until Addison comes back. And then Chase Brown. Look, I'm the biggest Chase Brown hater on the planet. I think he's a bad running back. But I do think with Jake Browning under center, they're going to be utilizing Chase Brown a little bit more than normal because they're not going to be – this passing attack's not going to be firing on all cylinders with Jake Browning, no disrespect. And then Jamar Chase. You saw Jamar Chase had a big-time game, 14 catches, and Jake Browning was the quarterback the majority of that game. So I think he loves him some Jamar Chase. I'm starting him pretty much no matter what. Same thing with Justin Jefferson, Jamar. You just start these guys unless they're out. For the sits, Jake Browning, there's probably way better options. You have a better option on your team to start at quarterback than Jake Browning. No offense. He's got great weapons, but he threw 3 picks last week. Did not look the best. He's not going to get 3 touchdowns with that every week. T. Higgins, he's going to suffer probably the most out of these guys because of the quarterback downgrade. So don't think he's going to get integrated into this offense as much as people would like. Gesicki, same thing. Wentz, same thing as Browning. I'm even less confident in Wentz than I am Browning. I think this offense, yes, it's very QB friendly, but Wentz, maybe he's just Eagles Wentz. We'll see, but I'm going to watch him do his thing from my bench. TJ Hawkinson has been basically a shell of himself all year, so definitely not a fan of TJ Hawkinson. Any arguments here? I think this is pretty standard for the most part.
I'm not starting Chase Brown because I don't like the Bengals offensive line, but I do think that Jake Browning will still be. I think Jake Browning will still be throwing up hospital balls and deep shots. I think it's going to be fun. I'm telling you, I think it's going to be Madden for them guys, just throwing up, chucking it down the field. So I like Browning and I like Higgins, and against the Vikings defense here. But overall, good list. Overall, awesome. It's a good list.
All right, well, we'll just keep rocking and rolling, man. Rocking and rolling. We got one really good team and then a solid team. The Broncos going on the road to play the Chargers. Chargers, man, they've really figured it out, I think, on offense and on defense, really. Chargers last year kind of had an archaic offense, run the ball, hard-nosed football, And then they realized halfway through the season, they're like, okay, we can't do this. We have a top 5 quarterback, let's use him. And when they started doing that, they started winning games really hard. And this year, they've looked phenomenal on both sides of the ball. I think the Broncos, they have a little bit of things to do on the offensive side of the ball. I like the Chargers 2.5-point favorites here at home as well.
Yeah, Broncos offense looks abysmal. Outside of Troy Franklin, it's been a nothing burger. They can't run the ball. Bo Nix has looked terrible. The Chargers absolutely smothered the Raiders last week. Defensively, they look fantastic. They lost Khalil Mack to that gruesome injury to his arm. My goodness. But
yeah, that was still a tough loss.
But they, like you said, they've got Ladd McConkey. They've got Quentin Johnson, who's been just on fire. And quite frankly, we're going to see Omari Hampton eventually break through. It's just going to happen. You're not going to, put him on the bench necessarily for Najee Harris. So I think the Chargers at home, they're on a roll. Might be a Super Bowl contender here. As much as
they're looking great, man.
As much as I dislike Jim Harbaugh, I'll take the Chargers. I'll lay the 2.5 here at home all day long, even in a divisional game with Sean Payton as head coach over there. But yeah, I'm impressed with what Harbaugh's been able to do there for sure. I thought it was gonna last year. I thought they had the worst roster in football, and ended up going to the playoffs. So prove me wrong.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and look right into this start sit for the moment. So Bo Nix, I think he can have a decent game versus these Chargers. J.K. Dobbins, he seems like he's going to be the workhorse in this offense until he gets hurt, inevitably. So starting him for now. Troy Franklin, him and Bo Nix look like they have a great relationship. Who would ever thought that? They're doing great. So Troy Franklin, I think he's a solid flex option right now until he proves you otherwise. Seems like he's the guy in this offense right now. Then Justin Herbert, man, gets a new girlfriend. All of a sudden, he's the best quarterback in the NFL. He's looking like it, man. He's looking great at all stages. Hasn't been making the stupid decisions with the football like he did in the playoffs. He's had a great start to the season. And who else has been doing great? Ladd McConkey. He's like the safe option right now. Another guy, Quentin Johnston, who actually, ironically, I just traded Rome Odunze for Devonta Smith, Tesla, Quentin Johnson, a first and a third. I'm like, that's like 3.5 first-round picks for Rome Odunze. I'll take it. That's in a league that we're in. You can check it on Sleeper. I just traded it. You're in that league.
You traded Rome for all
Odunze.
that?
For all that, yeah, you can look on your phone right now.
Is it the 49ers guy? Is it the 49ers guy?
No, it's somebody else. You'll see though.
I didn't see it.
It just went through about 5 minutes ago. But Quentin Johnson, I think, for whatever reason, he just keeps getting open deep, and he learned how to catch a football. I don't understand. So
that league
solid
was
option
getting
there
on
as
me
well.
for trading James Cook to you for DeAndre Swift, but
James Cook is looking phenomenal, man.
yeah,
He's
it looks like
looking
you won
great.
that trade. But I don't think the Bears have any other options that they really like.
Absolutely.
So
And then for the sit, I don't know what's going on with the deep ball from Bo Nix, but him and Cortland Sutton just haven't been on the same page all year. With that same notion, Marvin Mims, their deep guy, he hasn't been able to get things cooking. RJ Harvey, I love the talent. I love the explosive playability, but he's just not a guy that is getting a lot of carries right now. I did not have a great week. I think he had 8 carries for 5 yards last week.
well, when you're in college till you're 42 years old, that's kind of what happens. There's a reason you're in college till you got your doctorates, your masters.
Well, his was more so injury related, and then he had the breakout season with UCF last year. But regardless, I think RJ is a great talent. He just has to get integrated into the offense more, or you have to wait for a JK injury. So I think Omarion Hampton, I'm weirded out by this thing right now. I think Omarion Hampton, great talent. I think you take him in the first round for a reason, but I've always said Najee Harris is going to be annoying for anybody that owns Omarion Hampton right now, because Najee's just good enough to where he's going to demand carries every single week. And Omarion Hampton and Najee last week, they had both 8 carries, and I think that's going to be the standard at least for a little while. Why use both? Why use one back heavily when you have 2 basically of the same back? That you can keep them both fresh and utilize them both. And I guarantee you that's what Harbaugh's going to do. He doesn't care about our fantasy points. He cares about having 2 fresh backs all game. So that's exactly what he's going to do. And until Najee, I know Najee will not be on the Chargers next year because of this, because of Omarion Hampton. But I think Omarion Hampton, he's a great 2026 play. But right now, I'm not so sure to start either one of these guys because of the split. But outside of that, I think that's the only controversial thing in this list.
Well, I would start Quentin Johnston because I think Pat Surtain is going to be taking Ladd McConkey all day. So, other than that, it's pretty good. I'm not in on any of those guys.
Pat, I don't know if he's going to be playing this week. You know, the injury on the field last week, we'll see. We'll see if he's 100%, but he looked like he was a little roughed up. So, love PS2, though. Love PS2. He's a dog. But let's go ahead and go into the next matchup. How about some really exciting matchup here? Hey, Spencer Rattler, huh? What about some Spencer Rattler versus the 49ers of all people?
Did somebody say that Spencer Rattler matured before the season start? And did somebody say that it wasn't
talking a bunch
the worst thing since cracked eggs and that Spencer Rattler is going to get it under control here? I'm going to interrupt you before you say anything about this. I'm taking the points. I think this is the Seahawks. I think the Saints can win this football game.
Everybody's seeing ghosts, man. What do you want to do? You know?
Yeah, I like Kamara. I like Olave. I like everything that Spencer Rattler's doing. They're just keeping grinding. The team's not falling apart. They're not finishing yet, but they haven't exactly been blown out of the water.
They stayed in that game, though, versus a good 49ers team.
And Seattle was kind of going neck and neck for a while there and just happened to pull away based off some poor play from the opposition. But it's a tough place to play up there in Seattle. But I'm going to take the Saints in the points and sprinkle a little money line here. This might be a little juicy first win of the season on the road for the Rattler from Chandler, Arizona, right here in my neck of the woods.
You may see somebody on the green side of the graphic here. His name's Spencer Rattler, the Oklahoma, South Carolina Gamecock. I don't like this Seahawks defense at all. No. I think Rattler could have a good day. I think the biggest part about a quarterback, Spencer Rattler's always had the talent. Highly touted recruit. You know, he's shown the ability to be a good quarterback before. He might be a little undersized. Who cares, okay? He went out there last week. I think the most important part about being a quarterback is having your confidence and being able to throw the passes when you know you can throw them, not second-guessing yourself. He was firing on all cylinders last week. 3 touchdown passes, no picks. Greatest game of his life, okay? Biggest stage versus the 49ers. Go out there. Yes, they were at home, but still, this is a great performance versus a good team. I think Rattler's in for another solid game. Now, don't start him over your accomplished quarterbacks, right? You guys that have been good the first 2 weeks. But if he's there, if you're having to choose between Rattler and Darnold, probably going with Rattler here. So
Yeah.
love Rattler this week. Kamara, he's getting a ton of passing game work. He's getting pretty much all the carries. So love him. He's been consistently good over and over and over. Olave seems like he's a focal point in the offense now, unless he gets hospital balled. Hopefully that doesn't happen. And then Sam Darnold, I do think he can have a day. Mac Jones had a day versus this defense. I think Sam Darnold can do something similar, but who knows? Sam Darnold could just throw up all over himself. We'll see. But a guy that's not going to throw up all over himself is Jackson Smith-Njigba. He is the guy. He's the wide receiver one in this offense. Going to lead the team in targets pretty much every single week. So he's a no-brainer start for me. If he's your wide receiver one, I wouldn't feel bad about it at all. And then for the Seahawks, Cooper Kupp has been irrelevant this year. I think he's got 3 or 4 targets on the year. I'm okay. I'm staying away from him for now. Charbonnet had a horrible week last week. I'm kind of staying away from the Seahawks backfield in general because you saw he had a great week 1. Kenneth Walker did nothing. Then week 2, Kenneth Walker went crazy. Charbonnet sucked.
He's got an injury, I think, too.
Charbonnet, yeah, he's been a little banged up. So is Kenneth, but Kenneth looked like he was phenomenal last week. So I'm staying away from the backfield in general. If I'm a dynasty owner, if either one of these guys, I like Charbonnet as a hold, but Walker, totally out on him, and he'll probably prove me wrong. Arroyo, their second-round pick tight end, he just hasn't really done much this year either. Vele, he catches the touchdown. People are saying he's going to get more integrated into the offense. Don't buy that right now until you see it on the big screen. And Rashid Shaheed, he's only relevant if he catches a big-time catch. So staying away from any of those types of receivers.
Yeah, I agree with all the sits, all of them. I would start
Darnold's
Darnold,
like iffy. Darnold's iffy for me.
But I would put Kenneth Walker in there because Charbonnet's injury. I think you get enough volume there to where he's worthy of a start. That's all I'll say.
Fair enough. Let's go ahead and get to the next game. Rocking and rolling through these bad boys. We got the Cardinals going on the road versus the San Francisco 49ers. Mac Jones kind of soothes the stomach pains of any 49ers fan saying, look, I might be the best quarterback on this roster, you know? I have one of my best friends is a 49ers fan, and I have to just mess with him every chance I get. One, because we beat them in the Super Bowl two times over the past 5 years, and he's
I enjoyed that too.
Brock Purdy is just one of the best, right? Ollie Gordon is the man, by the way. Cardinals versus the 49ers. I don't really know how to feel about this line. They made a competitive game versus the Saints. I'm staying away from this line probably.
I love the Arizona Cardinals in this game, and let me tell you why. First of all, Brock Purdy is actually a game-time decision now.
Really?
So, yeah.
What happened to him being out 4 to 6 weeks?
I think he saw what happened on Sunday and all of a sudden started to understand that he's going to feel.
I'm healthy now, guys.
Yep. So, the Cardinals won in San Francisco last year. The 49ers, it's all these injuries. I think the Cardinals, they've gotten out to a couple hot starts and they've really had a hard time finishing, but they did play New Orleans and they did play Carolina. So this is a step up in competition here, but I'm going to take the points on the road. It feels like the vibe is good here, and I think that Marvin Harrison has the game of his year this year. I think this is the game where he gets 10, 152. I'm calling it. Big game of the week for him. I think Kyler Murray's, because, well, I'll say this. They were saying, and for our 4 viewers, I live in the Phoenix area, but they were saying on local TV here about, they were asked him specifically about his targets and his lack of, targets and this and that, and he does not care. And since he publicly said that he does not care, that means the next game he's going to ball out. It's just like a superstition that I have when it comes to betting. So if you're going to prop bet anytime touchdown, I'm taking Marvin Harrison. 100 yards, I'm taking Marvin Harrison. Give me the, because that'd be a ton of, it could be like plus 500 for him because he hasn't been producing like the other receivers in his draft class, like Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. But I think this is a statement game for the Cardinals. I do think that the 49ers, like I said, I think they're reeling a little bit, even though they're 2-0. Both these teams are undefeated. Yep. But I feel that the Cardinals are going to win the West. And This is how you do it. This is
I think they might have the best roster with Will Johnson coming in. I don't know why he's a second rounder. I'll probably say that a lot on this show. But Will Johnson, phenomenal.
Juwan
Trey
Jennings is
McBride.
hurting. Everybody's hurting.
Yeah.
Ricky Pearsall. It's so funny that Ricky Pearsall and Brock Purdy are from here in Phoenix, and they're playing for the 49ers.
Well, let's go ahead and talk. So, Kyler, I think he's played good enough to where I think he should start for you. I don't think you should feel bad about starting Kyler Murray as your quarterback. Trey McBride picking off right where he left off in 2024, just getting a ton of targets every single week. He's phenomenal, man. He's a bulldog after the catch as well. Marvin Harrison Jr., you're stupid if you're not starting him. I mean, you have to start him. He's got the big playability. His film is just rocking. I mean, his film is amazing. So start him every single week if you have to until he just has a cold streak. Christian McCaffrey getting all the workload. I want to say in a lot of formats, he's the RB1 right now. Surprise, surprise, healthy Christian McCaffrey. Over the past 6 seasons, I just want to say every time he's played more than 15 games, he's been the RB1. So Christian McCaffrey, I mean, he just has too many touches to not start him. Then Ricky Pearsall, I think he's a consistent option for you, and he has some touchdown upside. And then for the sits, I like James Conner. He just hasn't been very efficient whatsoever. Trey Benson has been more efficient than him, but he's had less carries. I like Trey Benson more right now, but against the 49ers, who have a weak offensive line, I think they're going to get both of these guys going a decent amount. I don't know who they're going to use more because James Conner, he's averaging like 3.2 yards a carry. So we'll see. I'm off of both of these running backs. I think Trey Benson is a great hold in Dynasty, but right now, not really comfortable starting either one of those guys. Mac Jones or Brock Purdy, I am not super comfortable starting either one of these guys right now. I like what Mac Jones did last week, but it was versus the Saints. The Cardinals, different animal right now, especially on defense with Will Johnson. Staying away from the quarterback for the 49ers, whoever it might be. Juwan Jennings, he's hurting. I don't know if he's going to be fully healthy for this game, so staying away from him. Brian Robinson Jr., he's getting 5-6 carries a game, and then that's it. So unless he gets a touchdown on the goal line, he's irrelevant for me.
Yeah, fair enough. I agree with this list in full here. It's hard to dispute it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't start any of those guys that are on the bench here.
Yeah, I mean, unless you have to start Mac Jones, I mean, maybe I'll feel okay about it, but definitely he can have a day where he throws 3 picks and 1 touchdown easily. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game. We have the Dallas Cowboys going on the road to play the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field. Dallas, they're 1-point favorites, so basically a pick 'em here. I love the Chicago Bears, but they are in a really bad spot right now, right? Week 1, they kind of collapsed versus the Vikings. Week 2, they get just smacked by the Lions. Jared Goff has the same amount of touchdowns as he does incompletions. And he threw the ball a lot. So I think the Cowboys are the better football team in terms of how they're playing. I don't think they have the better roster or the better coach, but they are playing better, so I think I'd have to go with the Cowboys right now.
Yeah, this one is I think Dallas vote racism. Jalen Johnson's out for the year. The coach is already calling out the team practicing. Like for Chicago, Ben Johnson said, we're not practicing at championship caliber level, and this is week 3, and you're saying this kind of stuff. So, which means one of 2 responses. Either they're going to lay down already, and he's potentially hurting the locker room, or secondly, they're going to come out and put belt to ass. But I don't see how that Bears defense can stop the Cowboys offensively. CeeDee Lamb, there's no Jalen Johnson there. So with him being out for the season, I think CeeDee Lamb is another guy that's going to have, can have 8 for 125 and 2.
Yeah.
I don't think that the Bears match up with this team even close.
Jalen Johnson out, that's a big.
Yeah. And then as far as the Cowboys defense, they're going to be on a mission to kind of prove themselves with the whole Micah Parsons thing, going to Green Bay. But they still got playmakers up front, and they've got Trayvon Diggs, I think is going to be out, though. Or no, it's Deron Bland. One of them guys are out.
One of them's always out.
But nonetheless, I think that the matchup for Dallas's offense fares better than the Bears' defense as opposed to the Bears' offense and the Cowboys' defense. Kenny Clark knows Chicago, so I think that they're going to make Caleb Williams. I don't think the pass rush will be relentless, but I think that the Cowboys win this game by 6. So I'll lay the point there. And the Bears start out 0-3, which is music to my ears, but the Bears just are completely inefficient. The two guys that you got starting there, that's it. There's nothing else on this team offensively. Burden's not there yet.
I completely agree. They can't get the run game going, but Caleb, look, I know people, they'll say what they want about Caleb. He's been playing in fantasy as a top 10 quarterback. Can't argue that. He's been playing great in terms of a fantasy weapon, right? So Dak Prescott, I think he's been on a heater, man. He's been playing really good football this year, despite what the stats say. Really like what he's put on film. Javonte, and I said this last week, he is not the same runner he was at North Carolina, but he is playing with purpose. He is playing his heart out because he needs a job. And he knows it's close. People didn't know if he was going to be a starting running back this year. He's been playing his ass off. He's getting extra yardage every single run. So I think Javonte, he's going to be a goal line guy. I think he can be a really – Tyreek just caught a touchdown. So Javonte, definitely good stuff there. CD Lamb, he's a no-brainer. Start every single week. You got to start him. He's going to get a ton of targets, a ton of yards. He's just that talented. Caleb Williams, talked about him a little bit. He's playing at a top 10 quarterback level right now in terms of fantasy. They've been losing a lot of games. I think Caleb isn't necessarily the main reason for that. I think they have a lot of issues. But Caleb, he's been playing well, so I'm going to keep Caleb as my QB2 and feel really good about it. And Rome Odunze, he's been killing it as well. Not just because of the touchdowns. He has 3 touchdowns on the year through 2 weeks. He's just been getting open and getting big-time catches over and over. So keeping him as my wide receiver 2 and loving it. For the sits, DeAndre Swift, it just hasn't been consistent. The offensive line just hasn't been blocking the best for him, and he's just not a guy that can break off tackles consistently. Luther Burden, he's only showing up in 3 wide receiver sets. They don't run 3 wide receiver sets, so he's widely irrelevant regardless of how much I like his talent. Colston Loveland hasn't really been integrated into this offense enough yet. I need to see it before I start him consistently. George Pickens, he's only good for 1 big catch a game pretty much in this offense. We'll see if he's relevant this game, but I'm not starting him unless I absolutely have to. And Jake Ferguson, there are much better tight ends out there to start. Yes, he's okay, but he's like a lower middle class tight end. You don't want to have him as your tight end if you can help it.
One thing I'll say about this game is I think that DJ Moore is going to get traded. I feel like the Bears are going to ship him off. And I think
it makes sense, right? Because you guys are on a playoff team.
Or something. Like, it just feels like I think that's who I got a feeling that's who Ben Johnson was referring to when he's talking about practice. I just got a feeling, even though the Bears paid him, it just feels like it's just my instinct on that. Can't confirm, can't deny. I'm just saying that's what it feels like to me.
Fair enough. All right, we'll move on to the next game. And it's my Kansas City Chiefs going on the road to MetLife Stadium playing against the New York Giants. Kansas City Chiefs are 6-point favorites. I do like this. I think last week for the Giants was kind of an anomaly. And I think the Chiefs, they do not start out 0-3 by any means. And I don't think this might be a close game. I think the Chiefs will come out here and really make a statement versus the Giants. They do have some issues on both sides of the ball. But I don't know. We saw 1 week a really bad showing for the Giants, and then we saw a really good showing from the Giants. So it's really interesting. Their defense is horrible, despite all the talent they have on the defensive line. I think the Chiefs win this game. I think this is a gimme game for the Chiefs, even though there are no gimme games in the NFL. I don't know if it's a 6-point win, but I don't really like the line that much.
I think 6 points is kind of, how can I put it? Like, 6 points is just kind of like, it's kind of right. It feels like it's kind of right. I mean, you can't go on the road to Dallas and nearly win the game and then have some kind of regression just because of the name that's on the helmet.
Yeah.
I think though I think you're right. I think Kansas City just come out red hot to start this game, but I also think that the Giants are a desperate football team, and that's when I love to bet on teams. Both these teams are winless. Both these teams are winless. One's got a superior quarterback, but I like, Xavier Worthy's still not out there. It's just, and Kelsey.
Jalen Royal should be out there.
Well,
and we'll talk about him in a moment.
I'm going to take Malik Neighbors and Wandale over whatever Kansas City's got at wideout. It just feels like this feels like a 23-20 game. And somebody's going to.
I can see this easily being a field goal game, a low-scoring game as well, just because the Chiefs' defense has been playing really well this season. I don't see that stopping. So
I would take the home dog here, but it could be like if the Chiefs win 31-0, that wouldn't shock me. But if the Giants win 24-21, that wouldn't shock me either. If the game's close, I'm going to lean a little more towards the Giants. But if it's 14-0 at the end of the first quarter, I think that the Giants will fold up, and then that seat for Dayball is going to get red hot. But we'll see. They realistically should have won the game last week against Dallas on the road. But they're both. Somebody's going to be 0-3 after this.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's go ahead and look at the start sit. So Patrick Mahomes, he's been a bright spot on this team. He's been playing lights out football. He's been playing phenomenally all year long, and the offense just hasn't really been getting going. He's their leading rusher. He's the Chiefs' leading rusher. He's on pace for 1,100 rushing yards this year. That can't happen. Sorry, that can't happen. Travis Kelce, I think, he dropped the game. He didn't drop the game winner, but I think the game would have been won if he kept that ball in his chest versus the Eagles. And I think we win that game. But Travis, he's been a little up and down. I think he has some mistakes here and there, but I still think he's one of the better tight ends just because of how much he's utilized in this offense. Same thing with Hollywood Brown. He's not the best by any means at this point in his career, but he's being targeted at a crazy amount right now. He's getting 10 targets a game. Cam Skattebo, you saw how many carries he had last week. Tyrone Tracy is a thing of the past, and they like what they see in Skattebo. He had a hamstring injury week 1, so he didn't really play that much. He's healthy, and he looks like the RB1 in this offense, so I'm starting him because I'm loving me some Skattebo, even though he killed us when we went on the road. The Bulldogs did last year. He went for 260 on us. Malik Neighbors, no-brainer start. He is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Moving on. For the sits, Jalen Royals, I loved his talent at Utah State, but he played at Utah State. So, it's the best team he played. Yeah, and look how many years it took him for it to be a starter. Yes, I understand he played behind Aaron Rodgers, but it took him a little bit for him to get integrated into the NFL. I think Jalen Royals is going to be similar to that. Best team he played last year was Boise State. He did play great versus Boise State, but at the end of the day, that's a Mountain West team. Jalen Royals, love his talent, just got to see it first. Same thing with Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. The run game is just not working. They have to figure something out, and they haven't been able to figure it out. So I'm not staying away from any Chiefs running back right now. Russell Wilson, I need to see some consistency. You can't throw for 500 yards and throw for 100 the week before. I need to see some consistency before I even feel comfortable starting you. And Tyrone Tracy looks like the third down back like I predicted right when they drafted Skattebo. So Tyrone Tracy, I'm completely out on.
Yeah, good list here. Good list. Yep. I can't dispute any of it. So.
All right. Well, one of the best games of the entire weekend. You saw the thumbnail. The Lions, who are coming off of a 50 bomb, going on the road versus one of the best teams in the NFL, and the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens, 5-point favorites right now. I think the Lions are red hot, but the Ravens are also, I know they didn't have the best offensive performance last week. They did, but, Derrick Henry wasn't doing great. They won through the air, but I think this is going to be a high-scoring game.
So you're taking the over here, huh?
I'll take the over here for sure. I don't know who to take in this game, though. Not going to lie.
I like the Lions getting the points here because they still have electric players on offense with Montgomery and Gibbs and the Sun God and Goff. And, they've got Laporta at tight end. And the Ravens gave up a ton of points to good offenses. I mean, they did it to Buffalo in week 1. I feel like this is another prime spot for them to do that. Feels like a 43-40 game again, but I don't think the Ravens can pull away. I think 5 is being generous because I still think there's a little bit of lag on betting on Detroit because of what happened when they faced the eventual super champion Green Bay Packers. And then you play a bunch of bums in the Chicago Bears at home, and not everybody's buying into it yet. So this is going to be more of a test for them. This is a tough road schedule for the first place Lions, who got bounced in the first round by a rookie quarterback at home, despite winning 15 games last year, proving that the Lions are frauds. But I think that offensively they can keep this game within 5 points.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think this could be a field goal game. But let's go ahead and look at the start sits. Jared Goff, he's one of those quarterbacks that didn't have the greatest week 1, has a great week 2. I'm bought into him. He looked great. Looked like the offense was really firing. I think Jared Goff is a start for you at your QB2 spot. Jahmyr Gibbs, phenomenal. One of the best running backs in the NFL. Georgia Tech, former Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket. Jahmyr Gibbs, fantastic player. I would be shocked if you don't start him every single week. Same thing with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Just want to give some context here. I am the number 1 points for in my main league and the number 1 in points against. I've had a brutal 2 weeks. I am 1-1. I had the second highest point total in week 1 and lost to the person with the most. And then I had to play the second highest point, and I had to be the highest point leader because Amon-Ra St. Brown on my team really got me up there. Without Amon-Ra, I would have lost that week. Jeez Louise. It's been a rough couple weeks fantasy-wise for me. I've won a lot more than I've lost, but man, I need to stop playing against this Baker Emeka Buka stack, man. Who would have thought? Lamar Jackson, come on. I mean, he's the greatest fantasy quarterback probably of all time. So give me Lamar Jackson every single week. Derrick Henry, don't buy the 1 week where he's not doing – he gave you 3 points. That's not going to happen every week, okay? Especially versus the Lions when they're kind of hurting a little bit on the interior. So Derrick Henry, I think he will have a big-time game. I mean, you can't bet against him. You just can't. And then for sits, David Montgomery every single week. I do like him as a player. I love what he brings to the offense, but it just seems like every week David Montgomery, his shares are just going less and less and less, right? So David Montgomery, I'm a little bit out on right now. Jameson Williams, he's just a guy I'm never confident starting because he can have 1 for 12 or 2 for 130 and 2 touchdowns. He's really all over the place. If you want the big boomer bust week from J-Mo, start him. I'm just not that type of fantasy player. I'm all about consistency. That's why Rashad Bateman, he has been widely irrelevant. He was touchdown dependent last year, hasn't done much this year. Mark Andrews, another guy that's completely touchdown dependent. He's a nothing burger for me, has been all year. And Zay Flowers, I do think he's been phenomenal over the first couple of weeks. A wide receiver 1 in week 1. I don't think this game's going to be won through the air like it was last week against the Cleveland Browns. I think they're going to run a lot more. And they're going to get the run game going a little bit more, and I think that limits Zay Flowers' ceiling.
Yeah, good man. I think I would start Zay Flowers because he is getting the most of the target share, but the Lions, defensively don't like any of their secondary players one bit. Kirby Joseph just completely absent. I mean, he shows up against the Bears, but in week 1, we're going to see. I just think that Zay Flowers, you can start as well.
Yeah, I mean, if he's your flex play, I wouldn't feel terrible about it, but he just seems like he's going to be a guy that's going to get you 7-8 points this week. But let's go ahead and look. Got a new little thing here looking at our records against the spread. This is college football only, if you guys were wondering. We do pick 6 games every single week. We give our picks against the spread. And if week 3 didn't exist, we have 3 losses for me and 2 losses for Justin. We had we went crazy bad for week 3. But week 4, we get some interesting matchups. I'm I'm 9-8. You're 9-7. We're going to keep it above 500. We're going to have winning records versus the spread this whole season. But first game we have Texas Tech going on the road versus Utah. I love the Red Raiders here, plus 3.5. How do you feel about this? I think Lubbock has really got a solid team. I think they got one of the best rosters in the country.
They do, and that's one that they're purchasing. The hook is really what the hard point is here, but I'm going to take the Utes at home yet. Still, I think that Texas Tech is a year away. You know, with this opening of the NIL, they're able to recruit like crazy and get 5 stars that want to go in the middle of Northwest Texas, which is a whole lot of nothing. So if you want to get somebody to come to that part of Texas when there's better options in the state, you better open up the checkbook. But I do think that Utah can pull this off at home. I think they can win the game by a touchdown. Texas Tech, like I said, they just feel a year away. It's on the road. Utah is a really tough place to win at home or win at. So give me the Utes. I'll lay the 3.5 here.
Sweet. Oh, we get the next matchup, a team that we really like and a team that we're not so sure on. We've got Auburn going on the road to play the Sooners, the Oklahoma Sooners. We love some John Mateer, Heisman front runner right now, as it seems. The Sooners are 6.5-point favorites. I do like the Sooners to cover here, plus 6.5.
So here's where we agree. Jackson Arnold might be a revenge game in his mind. You know, he thinks it. But Auburn, they proved they won on the road against Baylor. But Baylor really does give up a lot of points. Their defense is gashed up. But I'm going to take Brent Venables and the defense here. John Mateer is a better quarterback than Jackson Arnold for a reason. There's a reason they replaced him. I'm going to lay the points. I think Oklahoma wins this game by 10 or more and kind of humbles Auburn a little bit. And it's not just because I'm wearing the Alabama hat. I just got to see Auburn pull off a big win. It's going to be tough for them on the road. Yeah, just give me Coach Venables here. Remember what I said at the beginning of the season? Oklahoma, is going to be great. I said, what I've said about Texas might not, lose 4 games here. And everybody kind of raised their eyebrows when I said Oklahoma's going to rid Red River, and feels like it's trending into that direction. So I'll take the Sooners. I'll lay the points. Yeah, I'll say 30-20. Oklahoma wins.
All right, now we have Illinois, number 9. Crazy number ranked next to them. They started off really slow versus Duke, and then Duke just couldn't keep it together, man, and they just gave turnover after turnover, and then Illinois finally figured it out. They're going on the road to play the Indiana Hoosiers, number 19. Illinois, minus 5.5-point favorites. I kind of like Indiana here a little bit, man. I know you're probably on the side of Illinois, and I do like Illinois. But
so for me, it's Illinois is the favorite.
Illinois is a 5.5-point favorite, yeah.
So just so you know, going forward, IU is constantly how Indiana is referred to.
Really?
So yeah, for Illinois,
let me double check that real quick just to make sure.
Okay, well, while you're validating that I'm right, I'm going to say.
No, I'm talking about. I want to make sure I have the line right.
Yeah. So, because I think Illinois could be the favorite, but IU is just what Indiana's called. Illinois would just be ILL. They don't go by IU. Indiana goes by IU. But either way, I think Illinois is the favorite because they are the higher-ranked team. That would make a little more sense here for the line. But I like Luke Altmaier. I think that Illinois with Brett Bielema has a lot to prove. Indiana is in my doghouse for their cupcake scheduling last year.
I apologize. The Hoosiers are not 5.5-point favorites. They're 6.5-point favorites.
Indiana's the favorite?
They are 6.5-point favorites, not 5.5. So I'm going to go Illinois, switch that. I'm going to go plus 6.5 Illinois.
So that makes me want to lay a money line bet here. I think Illinois wins the game outright. Better quarterback, better coach, better culture, better tested. Indiana plays Little Sisters of the Poor and Little Children of the Poor. And, your local high school teams start the season. They ain't beat nobody worth a lick. Big Ten conference plays here. Illinois wins. I would say 24-14 here, outright winner. Play that money line. Absolutely play the money line.
All right. Well, I like that. Now, I want to talk a little bit about something. Florida.
Uh-oh.
They go to Death Valley. Okay. Tough place to play. Okay, play LSU. Good team. Florida. Are they even a good team anymore? Because Lagway went out there and looked horrible. 5 picks, did not look comfortable whatsoever in the pocket. He was running for his life for no reason. Threw 5 picks to 5 picks, 1 touchdown. And they're playing the team that is on a roll. Miami is on one of the hottest streaks right now of any team in the country. 7.5 point favorites for Miami. I'm going to take Miami. Florida's just falling apart. I know Florida, they still got a ton of talent, but I'm gonna roll with Miami.
So I think what you'll see here is a more conservative game plan from the Gators. This is a semi-rivalry that they should play every year. I love Miami's coaching staff here. Their quarterback is light years better. Team is super experienced. They're a legitimate playoff contender this year. They should win the ACC now. But I think that the Gators are going to – this is a game where they're going to have to just will themselves, and they're going to be in a dogfight. I don't think that they win the football game, but I think that it's like a 4-point Miami win. I think Miami stays ahead of them the whole time too, and Florida just keeps making them nervous. Miami turns it over. Florida capitalizes, and it's a one-possession game. That's how I see it, so I'll take the hook. I'll take the 7.5. Give me the Gators.
All right, sweet. Well, we're definitely going to have some different records. One of us is not going to be 500, I think, after this week. But now we have the Michigan Wolverines going on the road versus Nebraska. I think when we had this in our preview for Michigan, I think we had them winning this football game. They haven't looked horrendously bad, but they definitely have some issues as a football team. Their coach just come back for this game, correct?
No,
he's out for this game. I still
Fifth
like
pod.
Michigan. I think I like Michigan versus the Cornhuskers here, but it's close. It's close because
I'll put it this way. Dominic Raiola's already gone through his freshman year. Had that big
he
win
looked
on
good
opening.
last week.
Yep. I'm going to take him over the freshman quarterback. I'm going to take Matt Rule in year 3. I think this is a turning point for Nebraska football.
I've been really just kind of thinking I might be with you on this one. I think Nebraska might win this game, but Michigan's defense is still legit. I think Nebraska might win this one as well. So I'm going to flip to Nebraska here, but Michigan, very close game, I think.
I think Nebraska wins by touchdown here because this is the first. Well, not the first, but this is back-to-back. No, I'm sorry, it's not back-to-back. Last week they hosted Central Michigan and put 60 spot on them. So Bryce Underwood is definitely feeling it in the offense. I think Biff Bahagi has let him just kind of do his thing a little bit. Hasn't been trying to control too much of what he does despite even being a freshman, but I think Nebraska has to have it. Sometimes when you have to have it, you're going to get it done. You're at home. Big red crowd's going to be out there. I just feel like Michigan just slips. They're going to be 2-2 on the year. So give me Nebraska. I'll take the points. 23-20.
And then last but not least, we have Arkansas coming on the tough loss. They played their hearts out against Ole Miss on the road, but couldn't get it done. Arkansas, they go to Memphis. Tough place, just in general, Memphis. Arkansas are 7.5 point favorites. Memphis, they're 3-0, and they've really dog walked everybody that they've played against. They played Charlotte. They've played some not good programs, of course, but Memphis, they've really shown out a little bit. I don't think they beat an SEC school, though. I think Arkansas, I don't know if they cover this spread. I'm going to say that they do. I think they win by 10, 15 points or so.
I'm going to take Memphis and the points at home because they are the best team in the American Conference. Arkansas is pretty inconsistent, but they should win the game. I think that Arkansas does win the game, but I do think that Memphis absolutely gets that hook. Could be a 27-20 game. Like I said, the game is in Memphis, who is improving a lot of things that they do in their facilities. They're trying to move up in conference play at a Big 12 team, which I'm really surprised they haven't been picked up, especially for their basketball prowess. But we're talking football here. So with that being said, I definitely am going to take the points. Give me the Memphis Tigers 7.5.
Well, I want to go ahead and say Tua just tried to no-look pass, and he threw it straight to a Bills defender with 3 minutes left. They were down a touchdown, so it looks like the Bills might cover this with a field goal.
No, the line is...
It's 11.5. No, so they'd be 10 points. Okay, good.
They'll probably try to run the clock out.
Good. I like that. But yeah, that's our 6 games of the week.
Wait, you said you like Arkansas?
I do like Arkansas plus 6.5 here. 7.5. I think they win by probably 12, 13 points. I think they looked really good versus Arkansas. They looked really good versus Ole Miss. I think they'll look really good against Memphis. They haven't really proven themselves versus any good competition. So,
Bobby, what do you got to plug for our 4 viewers?
Guys, work has been crazy this week, so I haven't really put out any videos, unfortunately. I'll be back in full swing next week. But, just definitely just check out the channel. Check out both the channels. You want the betting side, he's got you covered on the shorts every single day. For me, I'm trying to make you win your fantasy matchups. Got a lot of good reviews in the Discord thus far. Got a lot of people starting off 2-0 with some of my advice, so happy with that. You see our winning records versus the spread. I think it's only going to get better from this week on. So definitely check out the spreads that we got going on here and take some of our lines. I think you'll be successful in both fantasy and the financial.
And remember, next week, guys, we have a special guest that's going to be joining us at the same time on
excited.
Thursday. It's our last Thursday show, hopefully, of the year, but we do have lives. We do have families, so that's why things got bumped from this week as well. But super amazing guest is going to show courtesy of Cut Bet through a little connection. And make sure that you sign up with Cut. Use code COVER2CASH. And win yourself some money. We give you guys betting advice on this channel. We give you fantasy advice. All we ask you to do is like and subscribe to our stuff. And next Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, we will have a special SEC player that played for the Gamecocks, but we will not tell you who that is until we come up with a little video preview for what's going on. So with that being said, on behalf of Bobby and Bobby's Big Board, I am Justin from Justin Paul Sports. Have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the games, and roll tide, y'all.
You